Memorial Day commemorates U.S. men and women who died while in the military service. Simply joining the military is a commitment to be prepared to sacrifice for a greater cause. For some, it was the ultimate sacrifice. For others, they are a reminder that freedom is never free.
Denzel Householder, United States Army.
Glenn Brown, I was in the Navy at the end of World War II.
Randy Godsey, I was in the Navy.
Ken Fast, Navy.
Wade Hazen, United States Marine Corps.
Gordon Weaver, I was in the United States Navy.
Bill Atchley, Army.
Dan Welsh, and I was in the U.S. Army.
Gary Johnson, and I was in the United States Army.
Bob Frost, U.S. Army.
David Phillips, I was in the Army.
John Zabel, I was in the Army.
Stephen Harp, Army.
Richard Rendke, and I was in the Army.
Richard Reininger, and I was in the United States Army.
Steve Morley, and I was in the Navy.
I'm Robbie Saavedra, I was in the United States Army. I am a Gulf War veteran.
Ed James, United States Army.
Stan Hutchinson, United States Air Force.
Seth Cooley, Army National Guard.
Bob Burdette, and I was in the U.S. Army in Vietnam.
I'm Terry Parco, I was in the United States Navy.
Richard Reno, United States Navy, 1969 to 1994.
Karen Allen, U.S. Air Force.
Don Lester, and I was in the United States Air Force.
Rob Lyle, United States Air Force.
Morty Seekert, and I was enlisted in the Navy.
Don Derby, Army.
Hello, my name's Ken Morrell, I was in the Air Force.
I'm Willard Dawson, and I was in the U.S. Army, 1944.
Calvin Williams, United States Air Force.
Dennis Wetzel with the United States Army Reserves.
John Littner was in the Army.
Sean Crocker, United States Navy.
William A. Stoddard, both in the Army and in search and rescue on the West Coast with the Civil Air Patrol.
Paul Van Horn, United States Army.
Bruce Bramwell, United States Navy.
Dave Soderborg, Air National Guard.
Edith Bramwell, the Seabees.
Larry Selders, Marine Corps.
Bob Dahl, I was in the United States Marine Corps.
Shane Frazee, United States Marine Corps.
Stephen Wilson, U.S. Marines.
Larry Feather, United States Army.
Bob Werner, and I was in the U.S. Navy.
Dutch Halfman, Combat Engineer, Korea.
I'm Weldon Allen. I was in the Colorado National Guard.
Dan French, I was in the Navy.
Randy Kapp, in the Army.
Donald Anderegg, National Guard.
Tom Kimball, the U.S. Army.
Keith Holm, and I was in the Army.
Clifford Vashis, I was in the United States Army in Alaska.
Tom, I was in the Marine Corps.
Stuart Carson Grant, I was in called the SCARWAP, which was a special category Army with Air Force.